People are going through life not knowing what they're good at, what their talent is, what their skills are. They haven't done a full analysis of their own talents and skills. They don't
Mhm.
know what their contract is. So
Mhm.
when you were born with a mission to fulfill, a contract for the planet. My dad's father, he would always say, you want to leave the place better than you found it.
Yes, indeed.
Leave the place better than you found it. Well, a lot of people don't know how to leave a place better than they found it because they don't know what their assignment is. We were
Mm.
all built with an assignment.
Most people live a life that was pre-programmed for them, maybe by their parents, by their teachers. In this episode, you would learn from a gentleman I highly respect what you must know to be able to live a purposeful life. I am talking to a highly respected colleague, someone I look up to, Mr. Jerry Poe, who is coming in, I believe, somewhere from Pennsylvania, Delaware, somewhere along the East Coast, but I don't know where it's coming in from. But my name is Gideon Fumukwai Fumukwai. I'm the host of this podcast, and I want to welcome Mr. Poe to the Story Warrior podcast. Good morning, sir. Where are you joining us from?
Thank you, man. Thank you for the invite. Glad to be here with you, your audience. I live in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, which is outside of Philadelphia, about 30 miles southwest of Philadelphia and right above Delaware. So
Hmm.
Wilmington, Delaware is like 15, 20 minutes south of me. So right across the border of Delaware. That like the little, we're like a little nudge that was a key component to the Underground Railroad.
Okay, so a lot
So
of people that were in search of freedom came through there.
yes, so that's why the purposeful life is key to me because I live in the pocket where freedom seekers had to go through in order to live a
Oh,
brand new life.
man, that is cool. That's cool. I never bring out the vuvuzela so early, but I have to bring it out already. Yeah, that is to say you already struck you struck a touchdown already, or you hit it out of the park already, right off the gut. So you live in a cool place. Did you choose to live there, or were you born there?
I was born here, my so there's two sides. Both sides of my family have been here for a while. My mom's side, I've tracked it all the way back to the 1800s. So I had my great grandfather was born in this area in 1858.
Mm.
My dad's parents moved here in the 1940s. They were in West Virginia, a town called Gary, West Virginia, and we were coal miners. So my dad's father was a coal miner, and when the mine started to slow up, they got wise, and there was a transition. There was a migration from out of West Virginia into Pennsylvania because this pocket of Pennsylvania was essential for one product. Like Kennett Square is the mushroom capital of the world. 51% of all the world's mushrooms come from Kennett Square. So my my dad's father came when he moved here. He was able to earn money for his family by tapping into the mushroom business, and he bought 8 acres in the 1950. Built a house on there, and now we've turned that 8 acres into 20 acres. So we've been in this pocket, and there's no need to leave because we have a strong foundation of ownership here. And so that was my example. My example comes from people. You talk about how do you live free, how you live a
Mhm.
personal life. So my dad's father didn't even go to high school. He dropped out of school in what we call middle school here at the U.S. I don't even think he made it past the 7th grade, but he learned how to become an entrepreneur. He had this ability to always be independent and earn.
Mm.
So his journey when he got into the mushroom business, he was hauling hay, and then he went from hauling hay to helping clean out the mushroom houses, and then he created his own crew of guys that he would hire out to clean out the mushroom houses, and then he got his own equipment to go in because first he was running equipment, then he bought his own equipment to go help clean out the mushroom houses. Then he built his own mushroom houses, And that way he could not only have a crew cleaning out other people's houses, but he could also grow his own mushrooms and sell them. And then they had 10 kids, right? So my uncles, there was like 6 of them, they would be working in my grandfather's mushroom houses.
Hmm.
And then eventually he turned some of the property into a mobile home park. So we have that real estate income coming in as well. That's been now generational from my grandfather to my father. Eventually, I will pass it on to my daughters for them to have. But all that comes out of the idea of ownership. So ownership has been something that's been drilled into me because even my mom's father had land in the area and he had his own mushroom houses as well. So there were only 3 in this area. There were only 3 men who had their own, black men, I'm saying. There were only
Mhm.
3 black men who were independent mushroom growers. That means they owned their own mushroom houses. And 2 of those 3 were my grandfathers.
Hmm. That is a powerful heritage. Honestly, this side of you I have never known. I'm fortunate, story warriors, to have met Mr. Poe. I call him Jerry, somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Yep, Pittsburgh,
Uh,
Greensburg.
Greensburg, yes. I was probably absolutely green. I just started working as a corporate trainer for a seminar company. I don't know if I should drop the name here. And you were also working for another sister seminar company. And we met at the same hotel. And we struck a conversation. And it just got better and better and better from there. But what I did not know is that you come from this very unique place. And what I also did not know is that you come from a family that loves mushrooms. I am crazy mushroom eater. In Africa, I go pick up mushrooms from hundreds of or dozens of kilometers away or miles away, and I bring back to my family. It's to me, it's probably the healthiest food source that mankind doesn't know about. Last night I was chewing some that my wife made. So if I come anywhere in 100 miles of radius of say Canaan, Pennsylvania, I'm going to make sure I come there and meet some of the folks that grow that and learn from them. Because if I could do one thing before I move out of this life, I want to grow mushrooms. I want
Yeah.
to grow them so badly. So this is a beautiful happenstance, a beautiful coincidence. Now, for the people that watch this program, they are mostly business owners. You talk about ownership, ownership, ownership. And I know that you're no longer in the world of corporate training like a 1099 like myself. What is ownership to you, and what kind of ownership do you have in the world of leadership, in the world of training and education and getting people to learn how to get ahead?
Great question. I came about this journey of entrepreneurship by accident. Like I didn't grow up wanting to be a business owner. Like I grew up around business. So I grew up like my dad was a general contractor, so he had his own construction business, right? My dad's father had his own business. Since childhood, I saw him like running stuff, whether it be, he had a bar in Wilmington, Delaware, the mobile home park, all that. But
Mhm.
I grew up like most people in the US. I'm going to do well in school. I want to be well rounded.
Mhm.
I was in sports. I was a varsity athlete. I was in marching band, academics, the triangle, right? Trying to do
Mhm.
all the stuff. Go
Mhm.
to college. And when I got to college, I thought I was going to go out and get this job that would give me a high salary, and then that high salary would take care of all the issues, right? Um, the challenge was my journey didn't match up to the expectation. So I had this vision what I thought, but when I went to college, my grades didn't match up to the goal.
Mhm.
I said I wanted to go do the stuff, but then when I got to college, there was a lot of distractions.
Mhm.
There were a lot of things that I didn't anticipate that were fun to do.
Yeah.
And the fun stuff took over, and
The real
I
stuff.
I wasn't as academically um successful as I should have been, right? So
Yeah.
I was at what they call it academic dismissal. They basically sent me a letter that says, you're no longer enrolled because your GPA is not high enough.
Mhm.
So at that point, that was a transition. I was 20
Mhm.
years old when this happened. I was about to turn 21 in a couple of weeks. And that's when I became open to the idea of non-traditional paths, like things that I wasn't thinking
Mhm.
about before. And it
Mhm.
just so happened a couple weeks after getting that letter, someone called me about a business opportunity. And that's what set me on the path of thinking about, how do I own something? How do I have an asset? How do I have
Mhm.
something that puts money in my pocket where I
Mm.
can dictate and call the shots?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's different levels of ownership, and because there's different types of businesses. There's the brick and mortar type business.
Mhm.
But now we have technology, so there's stuff you can do with the internet that you're not really owning an actual location as a
Yep.
physical location, but you're owning space in the digital
Yes.
marketplace.
Yes.
So there's different degrees of ownership, and I don't want to take anything away from, you talk about 1099. I don't want to take anything away from that either, because that is
Mhm.
a certain level of ownership.
Yeah.
Piranha marketing is an effective way to generate revenue. You just
Mhm.
have to understand that you're always going to be looking for someone else that does more of the marketing, and you just eat off of their marketing. But there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
If you can control how to market. So my mentor, this was back in like 2004, maybe 2003. My mentor at the time said, if you master sales and marketing, you will always be able to write your own paycheck.
Yes.
Now, I was a young. I was in my early 20s. I was probably like 25, maybe 24 at the time when he told me this. And it was like he just stuck. If you master sales and marketing, just those two things, sales and marketing, you'll always be able to write your own paycheck, regardless of what it is. So then I spent the majority of that time period in my 20s, all the way into my 30s, and now I'll be 48 this year. Like, so this
Mhm.
whole entire time, I've just been refining the ideas behind sales and marketing. The
Marketing.
two build on each other. If the marketing is better, then the sales become easier. If the marketing is okay, then the sales become more challenging. So depending
Mhm.
on how you market, that will
Yes.
determine on how your sales go. Better
Yes.
marketing, like there's certain products that don't even have their products. Like, for example, when you think about cars, when was the last time you saw a commercial for Maserati? Because that brand has built, and this is still marketing, right? It's still marketing to have like, you're a story warrior. So the story warrior, the idea of a brand story, because they've been able to create their brand story in such a
Mhm.
significant way, they don't have to do commercials on TV, because the
Yes.
story tells itself through the people, and folks just show up to buy the car.
Yeah. The proof
Versus
in the
other
pudding.
brands, they got to have
Mhm.
commercials every 5 minutes in order to keep people coming in the door. So I'm not saying that one is necessarily better than the other, because all the products are designed for certain people. But
Mhm.
what I'm saying is that folks need to understand how to create their own narrative and how to
Mhm.
control their optics. When you control the
Yes.
optics in the narrative, it makes it easier for you to actually lock in a sale, which is
Mm.
basically, selling is providing a service. It
Yes,
becomes
indeed.
easier to provide a service if you've controlled your narrative and controlled your optics.
That is incredibly insightful because few people understand the power of marketing and sales. Most people talk about it, but there are not many people that mastered it. And most people spend a lot of time mastering technical skills. Nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to get ahead, you ought to spend more time working on sales and marketing, like you've said, because that those are areas of communicating your value to someone else. Something that I struggle with sometimes. In some areas, I've done fairly well with it. In some areas, I've not done very well yet. So, if you could have some piece of advice for business owners, there are people that are transitioning from 1099 to business ownership. There are people that are getting fired in the federal government now, massive numbers. We don't want to talk about the good and the bad of that, but they suddenly find themselves, oh my God, I thought I got something. Nope, I have nothing. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take care of my children? I'm going to take care of my mortgage. What kind of advice do you have that can help somebody that's like, God, I need to be able to find a way to pay my mortgage this month? They're praying, they're going to the altar, they're doing whatever they need to do in terms of sales, in terms of marketing. What kind of advice you have to have for business owners?
Well, first, I would tell people that you do not want to operate out of a spirit of desperation. So even though your situation and circumstances may feel desperate, acting out of desperation is not a way to position yourself in the marketplace. It's never going to, it's that acting out of desperation never works out well for the person, because they usually end up doing something that long-term is counterproductive to their overall goal. Okay. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, what are you good at? A lot of people are going through life not knowing what they're good at, what their talent is, what their skills are. They haven't done a full analysis of their own talents and skills. They don't know what their contract is. So when you were born with a mission to fulfill, a contract for the planet. Right? My grandfather, my dad's father, he would always say, you want to leave the place better than you found it.
Yes, indeed.
Leave the place better than you found it. Well, a lot of people don't know how to leave a place better than they found it because they don't know what their assignment is. We were all built with an assignment. There's something. There's probably something in the world that bothers this person, and they naturally have a way to solve that problem, but they discount that because it's natural to them. Most people discount what is normal for them because they don't realize how unnormal it is for other people. They devalue their skill, they devalue their talent because they're used to it. And because you're used to something, you don't really appreciate how good it is. So what you talking about where I live, right? I live in Pennsylvania, and I live near a tourist attraction called Longwood Garden. This used to be the summer home for Pierre Dupont. Okay. People live here and rarely go, but you have folks travel in from all other parts of the country to see it. Like people will live next to a gem and don't see the gem. But people will come in and pay money to go see it, right? This goes back to Russell Conwell's book, Acres of Diamonds. The farmer was looking for diamonds, but he sold his farm to go find diamonds, and the farm that he had originally already had diamonds on it. So a lot of folks who are looking to do something now, the first challenge is understanding, what do you have? I'll refer to another speech. Adam Clayton Powell, many years ago, gave a talk called "What's in Your Hand," and he used a biblical text. Right? He used an Old Testament text about Moses talking about he wasn't qualified to go and talk to Pharaoh, and he's like, "I don't have this, I don't have that." And it says, "Well, the bush." He was talking to the burning bush, and the bush said, "Well, what is in your hand?" Right? So in the hand was this: use what you got. Most people have not. They're always trying to think about what they don't have in order to get somewhere, rather than taking an assessment of what they do have that will get them to where they want to go. Right. So once you have a clear sense of what because you just mentioned it, you said people focus on the technical skills. So what you have is quote unquote a technical skill. The challenge, though, is nobody knows what you have. And a lot of people struggle learning how to articulate the value in the marketplace. It doesn't matter how good you are at something if you can't share with people how good you are at it.
Nobody cares.
And then this is where the frustration sets in. Because you will see somebody that is not as good as you.
Yep. Make a living from it.
Because people know they exist, but they don't know you exist.
Ouch. I say ouch because I've been in such situations. Go ahead.
So it's like, they're like, well, why am I not getting it? Well, nobody even knows your number. They don't know how to get in contact with you. So I've always been puzzled by people who make it difficult for people to pay them. Like, people are like, what do you accept? I'm like, everything. Whatever method you got to pay me with, I got a way to receive it. I don't care if it's a check, credit card, app, whatever. I got them all. Like, I just sign up for everything. Like, whatever you got, I got all of them. All of it.
Venmo, all of it. Okay.
Whatever, anything, any way you want to do it, I'm open. I'm like you mentioned football, right? The touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those wide receivers. I'm always open. My hand's always up. I'm always open.
Okay,
So
so anyway, wrap that thought out, because what I'm picking from there is you're saying if you want to be able to communicate your value, be accessible.
you have to know what you have,
Mhm.
and then
Make it.
from there transition to how do I communicate the value of that,
Mm,
and where are the people that need that value,
yes.
and then go speak to them.
You make it sound simple, but you obviously have figured out how to do it, because
Well, it is
if
it is simple. Like the reality is it's simple, but because something's simple doesn't mean people do it well.
that's right, that's right. But you have figured it out, because I can imagine if I were thrown away, I was told, advised to leave college at 20. 20, I was still in high school. If I were advised to leave, I don't know where I would have found my way. But you obviously you have found your way, because you're living at the top of your game. And for those who just joined, Jerry is an independent business owner who is thriving in the world of corporate education and training, trains executives, retreats, those programs all across America. Your calendar is full. So take us back. How did you go from this guy who was advised to leave college at 20 because he was having a little bit too much fun, to being this guy that is helping corporate executives in board meetings, in all kinds of places, to be able to do a good job of leading others? Give us
So
a little bit of that journey.
when I look at your title and I see it's like how to find your why and live a purposeful life. To get to where people really want to be, the first thing they got to figure out is how do they get to where they are now. So I'm 20 years old, sitting on the floor of my bedroom in my parents' house, trying to figure out how to explain to my parent that the tuition money they spent,
Was in vain.
like what, like, and I don't know what's my next move. So the first thing was to figure out like how did I get here? How did I mess up? What was causing me to sabotage the goals and the dreams that I had already set for myself? It wasn't that I didn't have ambition. It wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. I had to dissect how I got to where I am. A lot of people aren't living, they're coasting. So how do you go from coasting, right? Because you stopped pedaling a long time ago. Like when was the last time you read a book about how to live the life that you really want?
Mhm.
Like most people, they studied in school to get the grades, but they never really studied in order to build the life that they want.
Mhm.
Like Jim Rohn said that people work harder on their job than they do on themselves. When you work hard on the job, you can make salary, but when you work hard on yourself, you can make a lifestyle.
Mm.
So at that, when I hit that, that was like a wake up call. When I failed out of college, it was a wake up call for me to look in the mirror to admit that I didn't have it all figured out, and
Mhm.
I had to start to understand what was causing me to make choices that had consequences that weren't productive for my life. I didn't go on the journey to become the business person.
Mhm.
I went on a journey to try to figure out how do I salvage what I messed up,
Okay. First level savage. Okay. Cool.
right? Like
Mhm.
how do I like not stay here like in the dump? Like how do I get
Mhm.
out this dump?
Mhm.
So I had to start to figure out like what was causing me to not honor my word to myself. And part of that was discipline, and part of that discipline goes had to do with my belief system.
Mhm.
So when you talk about this concept of like Brian Tracy has a
Mhm.
program called the Psychology of Achievement.
Mhm.
And he talks about this thing called the self concept. I had to work on my self concept.
Mhm.
People want to live a purposeful life and find their why, but they haven't become aware of where they are. They don't have a high level of self awareness. I had to develop a high level of self awareness in order to develop
Mhm.
my self concept, how
Mhm.
how I see myself in the world.
Mhm.
Because you can shift that. You can shift, and this was basically what people now call emotional intelligence, but it
Mhm.
wasn't called emotional intelligence back then. Like
Mhm.
that wasn't like a catchphrase back in the late 90s. Like no one was walking around like, man, I got to work on my emotional intelligence. So I had to. So I had. So here's the biggest key. Okay, people are expecting others to invest in them before they make an investment in themselves. I started investing in myself first.
Mhm.
I started to go and listen. Back then, it was like tapes, audio tapes.
Yeah.
I got Earl Nightingale, Lead the Field. I got Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. I
Mm-hmm.
got Psychology of Achievement. And I was listening to this stuff all over and over. I kept listening. I started getting more stuff and more stuff and more stuff because I wanted to learn more about what I could do to fortify my mindset. And then as I started to do that, I started to understand that there was other pieces to it. There was communication pieces, and then communication leads to sales and market. So it was different levels to it. But it all started with, okay, now people are investing in me today. Today, people are investing in me, investing in my business. But that started with me taking a chance on myself to make an investment into what I thought I could become.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had a car. I have. They're basically they're right here over here on my shelf. The cards I used to carry around in my pocket with affirmations. Here I am. I'm 21 years old, and I'm walking around with index cards where I wrote things on there. And this past summer, it hit me, and like it messed me up emotionally because I was in a coaching session with someone, and I was talking to her about how she could develop her own affirmations for her
Yeah.
role in leadership at her particular organization. And I pulled out one of my cards and I read it, and it said,
Oh.
I am the leader people are looking for. And it hit me, right? Because I hadn't thought about it. Today, I'm a manifestation of what I said over 20 some years ago. We're talking like 1998. I'm saying
Wow.
1998, I am the leader people are looking for. And now today, before we even got on this podcast, I'm on a prep call for an organization that I'm doing 2 events for in April and May, one in San Diego, one in Fort Lauderdale. So
The
it's like
leader
it hit
people are
me.
looking for. Yeah.
It hit me in that moment. Like I fulfilled the thing that I wrote down. When I wrote it
Yes.
down, nobody was looking for me.
Yep. If anything, people were running away from you.
Yeah, no one was looking. No one was looking for me. No one was like. No one was trying. No one was looking. No one was like looking to hire me to come in and talk to them.
Yep.
So, but the key there, the key I want everybody to walk away with is before someone's going to be willing to invest in you, you got to take a chance and invest in yourself.
Yourself. Thank
So
you.
what
Thank
do
you.
you have to learn, right? So you have you take an assessment of where you are, right? What do I have? What am I good at?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to invest in how do I learn? Because when you said earlier, it seems so simple. Well, and what I mean by it is simple is like you don't have to figure it out on your own
Thank you.
because people have already figured out the roadmap.
Absolutely.
And you just have to learn how to duplicate it, right?
Mm.
So a lot of folks are walking around thinking that they have to be the answer to everything. Like the answer to who does not have to be you. You can learn from someone else who's already done it. That way you maximize your results.
Oh, you hit a strong point there. Man, that's deep. Imagine if there's no GPS, right? You have to walk from place to place, drive around all by yourself using only your mind. Why do we do that when there's GPS? Somebody's already invented a map. It's taken thousands of years for these maps to be perfected to where they are now. That the GPS can lead you right down to the cake shop where you want to order your cake. Now, you are very big on providing assessments, and I will be taking one personally for my own self and inviting you to deliver one to my team. What sort of assessments do you recommend for business owners to take so that they become more self-aware?
So when I first got into this game of being self-employed entrepreneur, I struggled, and I thought it was like if I had the right script. Then I was like, okay, well, this script's not working. Let me go get another script, right? Because I talking about investing in yourself. Someone else has already done it. So I'm always looking at what's like, okay, that script's working for them. Let me go use that script. Then I learned something from that same mentor who talked about mastering sales and marketing. He said, it's not the words you say, it's the music that you play.
I got to write that down. Not the words you say, but the music that you play. All right.
So the words don't matter as much as what is going on inside you when you're saying the words. I can say the same words. Like, so last night I was watching a movie with my daughter, a movie called Donnie Brasco. And it's about an undercover FBI agent. And he was talking to some of his other agents. They were listening to some of the recordings that he was doing when he was undercover. And they're like, they were asking him, like, what does it mean when these guys say, forget about it? And he was explaining to him how the same phrase, forget about it, could mean 5 different things depending on how you said it, right? Just like in the movie Creed, like in the Philadelphia area, we use this word John. Join can be a person, place, or thing depending on how you say it. So it's not the word it is. It's really how you deliver it. So often people do not understand their own communication style. So if you don't understand your communication style, how do you know how to adjust it to a person that may not have your same style? So you're trying to listen to a radio station. So before there was satellite radio, we used to drive around, and I lived near the Philadelphia area. So I would get the Philadelphia stations, and then I would drive down to Baltimore. But I would get out the range, and now I can't hear the Philadelphia station no more. So that station,
fades away.
We tuned in. It's like now it's not that station. So a lot of people they're trying to communicate on their station to a person that's not tuned in to the same state that their wavelength that they're on, and they don't know how to adjust the knob. So therefore, like they're missing it. They're like, why isn't this person getting it? Right. So if you want to get an assessment, you need to get an assessment on your communication style, your behavioral style, because that way you'll know where you are to learn how do you adjust to the people who may not communicate like you. So you want to sell somebody your product or your service, but you're talking to them about the stuff that you like about it, which may not be the stuff that they like about it, because people don't buy for your reasons, they buy for their reasons.
Yes, they do.
But if you don't know how persons are driven, like some people might be driven by how exciting or fun something is. Some people are driven by how fast they can get something done or how much money it will save them. Some people are driven by knowing all the facts and all the details. And some people are driven because they want to know how many people they can help within the world. So you're doing a money conversation with a person who's on a humanity conversation level. And then you're wondering why it's not clicking. So if you're going to do any assessment, you got to get an assessment on how it is that you naturally communicate. So you can get a better understanding how to adjust that to people who may not be communicating the same way that you do.
Wow. So communication is essential because it helps you to carry a message out, to take a message to the prospects.
If you if you think about a movie, right? They'll do a scene, but they'll do like 10 takes. And each take they could be delivering the scene a different way. Like do it from this perspective. And like we're going to see which one we get, to see which one would resonate with the audience more. Right. So most people are going out there believing I just say the message one way and everybody should get it.
I see. Ooh, that's a very fine one that I've not thought about. Yeah, I've been on a few movie sets, and I know how sometimes it can take several takes just to say, okay, sometimes you think you've given enough, but the director said, take again, take 5, take 6, take 7. You wonder why they're doing that. It's because when they finally putting every piece together, they're gonna choose which one fits just nice. That's beautiful. And I went to take some portraits a few days ago. Of course, they had dozens and dozens of takes. Out of that, maybe just 5 were good, 5 or 6. So that is something I can learn from. Now, so let's cut it to the chase. What is one thing that someone can do to discover their purpose in life and live it to the best?
Great question. I mean, to me, now we have language to describe it. Like emotional intelligence is so critical to everything we do. And if you go read the definition of personality on the webpage for the American Psychological Association, the APA, they say that personality is a combination of your beliefs, your feelings, and your behavior. A lot of people are going through life looking for purpose, but they never actually look at what their belief system is. And typically, your purpose is going to be tied to your beliefs, but there's also going to be some beliefs that could hinder you from fulfilling your purpose. So, for example, when we were younger, they said, don't talk to strangers.
Yep.
And then there's some people who are still holding on to that belief. So they want to go out and build a business, but they have a hard time picking up the phone to make a phone call because they're afraid to talk to a stranger. Right? So understanding your purpose really comes into play, and it becomes clearer when you start to get true to understanding who you are.
Mm.
So early on, so you got to go back to like 2002, 2003, 2004. I used to go to a boot camp every year called Self Mastery Boot Camp.
Self-mastery bootcamp. Okay. Where was that?
And well, it used to rotate. It was sometimes it was in Dallas, sometimes it was in Philly, sometimes it was Baltimore. And it was led by my mentor. But the whole key to that was self mastery. How do you master yourself? How do you get clear onto what's going on with you? Your purpose is not focused in because you haven't worked on self mastery. Like your people say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, you're not changing, like you're not focusing in with the microscope, like the microscope. You gotta like turn that thing, right? You gotta turn it up. You're not doing that to get clear, because how often do you take time to focus on your own personal self mastery, to look at self awareness, right? What is your emotional clarity? What is your level of confidence? How often do you look at cause and effect? Because if I don't have self awareness, it's going to be hard to look at self management, and self management is what's needed to build the business. If I don't have self awareness, how do I develop social awareness in order to know how to read the room, to read the situation, so I can have relationship management, which means how do I navigate these conversations in order to take my business to the next level?
Yep.
It all comes back from getting clarity. And here's the thing that I think, if I had to give it up, is like, how much time do you spend planning out your vacation versus how much time do you spend planning out your life? People have a vacation. They have 2 weeks of vacation time typically in the year, and they will spend a lot of time focusing on what they're going to do with 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the time, they're just going through the paces,
Coasting along.
A lot of people don't have, when they look at their LinkedIn profile, and they look at their resume, it says, "Oh, I got all these years of experience." And the reality is, no, you don't. You pretty much have 1 year of experience repeated 25 times. You have 1 year of experience repeated 10 times, because those people aren't deviating from their routine. They're doing the same routine over and over again because they get on autopilot. They get on cruise control. And I had to stop. I had to get off of cruise control and start to really dig in to see, like, oh, what really makes me tick? What resonates with me? What excites me? What drives me? And then that's what helps give you clarity on the purpose and your why. Like I'm extremely clear, because there are going to be opportunities. I learned this from Jim Rohn. It was like, there are some things that are good but may not be good for you. Because like, if you have a goal, a lot of times opportunities are going to start coming to you that are good opportunities. And some people they're like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's another good one. But then they don't realize, by going after all the opportunities, it's taking them away from the thing that they said they really wanted to go after. So when I get clear on my why, and when I get clear on my purpose, by tuning into who I am as a person, like people ask me, like, well, Jerry, how'd you get so good at the front of the room? And how did you deal with the fear of public speaking? I still have fear of public speaking. I still get anxiety. I just included it as part of the process. I accepted that failure was part of the process. I accepted the fact that I'm not that cool. I accepted the fact that I was corny. I accepted the fact that it's okay that I've seen every Star Wars, every Star Trek. I accept whatever it is that made me me. I accepted it, that's okay. And I became more attractive to the marketplace by not pretending to be something else than what I was, because I got clear that I was okay. I'm perfect in my imperfection.
Yes.
Right. But that only comes with like developing self-mastery. That only comes with looking at how to become self-aware and examining yourself. Like, think about how much, like, so go back to the vacation again, right? Think about how much time people will spend Googling all the things they could do when they get there. But if you ask them, like, what are they good at? They're like, I don't know.
That's very poignant, because I think it was a famous preacher from Baltimore, the guy who wrote A Gentle Thunder. He said, some people spend Now that there's a special crew that sailed into the Canadian Arctic, explorers from England, and they got frozen. They got frozen in the Canadian Arctic. Why? Because they did not spend enough time preparing for that exploration. You know what they had on board? They had massive musical equipment. And then this guy wrote the book. He said they prepared for a Canadian Arctic like though they were preparing for a Caribbean cruise. So what I hear you saying is you got to prepare for the journey. Otherwise, the journey would eat you up. Don't spend more time preparing for a vacation than you spend more time preparing to have self-mastery. If I could put it in my own words, thank you so much for that. Now, I know that you may have to run very quickly. Are there some thoughts, some ideas, some suggestions for new business owners? What they could, some resources that you know that they could benefit from to move themselves from where they are to where they want to be so that they can acquire self mastery?
Simon Sinek has a book called Start with Why.
Yeah, I've consumed a fair bit of
So
that.
if
Yeah.
you're looking at how do I find my why, well, he talks about starting with why. Like, so a lot of people start with the how, the what, but like the question you want to first answer is like, why am I even doing this?
Exactly.
Like, what is it about? So so I'll give you a personal example, right? Well, people say, well, if you don't like the public speaking, if it's really not
Your
a
thing.
thing that gives you energy, because it takes energy away from me to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, well, why do you do it? I said, because my why is about
Mm.
making a difference, adding value,
Mm-hmm.
and inspiring change,
Mm.
right? My why is my last name. I'm a person of empowerment. I'm in the
Mm.
pursuit of excellence.
Oh, I see. Poe is person of empowerment. I did not get that. Come on. You can just sneak that in and not even mention it. Poe
That's my
means
last
person of
name.
empowerment. Yeah, 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 yeah. And talking about empowerment, I have seen you bring people together, young people, community groups. You're serving, you're always out there serving. First, your schedule is very busy, but you're always out there serving. Talk
Yeah,
about that because that's another part of the purposeful life that I see in you, and I don't necessarily see in the other corporate trainers, the other motivational speakers that I've met out there.
right. Like, well, I'm dedicated to dying empty. I'm not trying to hold anything back. And I know that life is fragile. So like right before we met, I believe we met like right around 20. No, it might have been
I tell you when.
2020
No,
or
2018.
2018. Okay, 2018,
2018. Yeah.
right? So about
I
a year after I met you, I had a heart attack.
I don't
So
think I knew. I don't think I knew that.
right,
But
so
I think
we were at an event in North Carolina, right? We were at
yes,
Jamie's event in North
yes,
Carolina,
yes. At Jamie's event, that's the second time we met.
right? So that I was coming off of in recovery. That I had it. That was in like um May, and I had a heart
Mm.
attack in April of that year, right? So,
Ouch! I did not know that, and you never told me.
well, I'll walk around like advertising it. It's just that
Yeah, yeah.
it's because it happened, right? But it also gave
Wow,
me clarity about, hey, man,
life is
um,
fragile.
you gotta make sure you do like use this time valuably. You gotta use the
Mm,
time wisely. So
mm,
I don't have so yeah. Tomorrow I'll actually be in Delaware because I'm part of the 100 Black Men of Delaware, and I'll be with the mentoring group that we have, the Saturday Leadership Academy. But I'm also on the board for the United Way, where I live in Southern Chester County. I'm the vice
mhm,
president of community relations. But these
mm,
things are all tied into what my grandfather told me is leave the place better than you found it. I am
mm,
standing on the shoulders of people who made tremendous sacrifice for me to have opportunities that I have.
mhm,
And I owe to them to do the same for the next generations. Now, the reason why I'm doing the mentoring with these young men is I have two daughters. I poured into them. I
I
gave
have,
them,
I have two also.
yeah, I
So,
gave them what I gave them, right? But there's
mm,
some things that I couldn't give them because it wasn't like lessons for them, right? So there are things that I learned from having like, so I'll give you like a breakdown. I knew my father, right? My father and mother have been married for 49 years, right? Both of my grandparents were together until death do us part. And my great grandparents, I knew my great grandparents, right? So I knew my great grandfather, both grandfathers' father. I saw fatherhood, I saw brotherhood, I saw husband, right? All of that.
Wow.
Well, I don't have a son to pass on the manhood training. So it's my opportunity with these young men to pass on these lessons, because a lot of people, when I go around and talk to folks, like some people they don't have 3 generations of examples.
I didn't have nada. I have only my mom. I didn't know my dad. He had already passed on. I did not see any of my grandparents. Zero, zero. So interestingly, my mom became my hero, my
Yeah.
absolute ultimate hero. And I think she did a fantastic job. But I can understand in that context where you're coming from, it is like it's so deep. It's a heritage. So please,
So
sorry, I had to.
I'm passing it on because that's another component, right?
Mm,
That's
very
another
deep.
aspect of it. And
That's very deep.
in Marvel, Spider-Man, they said, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a duty, a responsibility to the planet. Like I had Shirley Chisholm said that service is the rent we pay for our place on the planet.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, now again, 20, 30 years ago, you may not see me out here because I grew up doing community service because I'm a PK, I'm a preacher's kid, right? And I hated it. I'm like, why am I taking I could be home watching cartoons. When you're younger, like I could be doing other stuff. Like my friends aren't out here cleaning up, picking trash up at this playground and volunteering here for this community center. Like, why are we doing this? I could be like eating cereal in my pajamas, watching
Or eating some mushrooms.
the
The good, the
Smurfs,
good, the good, the good mushrooms, though. The good
right?
mushrooms. Yeah.
But as now, right now that I'm in this stage of my life, um, there's a part of me that doesn't want to see void stay empty. Like, so if I see a hole, I see a void, and there's something I could do to fill it, and I do my best to tap in to assist to help other people's visions get further. I've learned a lot. I studied a lot of things. I've been able to go places that other people haven't gone to get the knowledge, and I do my best to bring it back to my community to help out. Everyone in my community is not gonna be able to fly to California to go to some of the conferences I go to, or fly to Texas or whatever to go. Like they're not able to do that.
Yes.
So things that I've learned about, what I've learned about marketing and sales doesn't just apply to business in the profit sector. It also can be helpful to the nonprofit businesses as well. So
Absolutely.
I bring some of the same concepts to them to help them. And with these young men in Delaware, my goal is just to because Pennsylvania and Delaware, it's like I'm right there, so close.
Yeah.
It's just to help the next, passing it forward, man. It's like helping that next cycle. Like one of the things. So the idea. Remember, I mentioned the idea of the contract.
Yeah.
I'm really clear on my contract. What's in it? What's written for me to do? And I'm also really clear on making sure that the legend continues. Like I want people to speak my name long after I'm gone.
Yep. Yep.
I remember watching a funeral for James Brown, and it was like all these people showing up and talking about, and I was like, how do you get one of these big funerals? The only way you get a big funeral is you got to have a better story.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
my
sir.
thing was like, I want to make sure I'm part of other people's stories. The
Yes,
more
sir.
folks I help, the more
Yep.
stories and chapters that I'm in someone else's
Yeah.
book.
Yep.
So a lot of times people are just so focused on writing their own book, their own life story, that they're not looking at how they can be a chapter in somebody else's.
Yeah.
And now it's like if I touch this person, and they touch two people, it's like my influence is being spread out to a much wider range.
That is inspiring, and kudos to you for always doing it ethically. Because I have had situations where I've come to you, and you just conduct things as best as possible. You're not trying to snatch some other person's business. You're always just staying on your own lane and doing that very, very well. No wonder you're a person of empowerment. But let's start to wrap up here within a minute or two. Let's say someone came to you and say, Mr. Poe, what are two ways to find you, to get help from you? What would you say?
Yeah, well, one is go to jerrypoe.com. That's easy,
JerryPoe.com.
right? You
All
go
right.
Jerry Poe, JerryPoe.com. They can find me there. And
Okay.
two, I'm on all the social media platforms. So I'm on Facebook at Jerry Poe, Instagram at Jerry Poe. What's some of the others, like LinkedIn at Jerry
LinkedIn.
Poe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Even the new stuff, Blue Sky, Fan Base, because
Hmm.
people are moving off of like some of these
Yeah.
other
X.
platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, like jerrypoe.com is the real simple, easy way they can
Mm-hmm.
find me. My email is
Yes.
there, phone number is there, and I even have a free gift there if they want to
Mm-hmm.
learn more about their communication style. There
Mm-hmm.
is something they can click on and get a little handout that will explain the 4 different communication styles to them.
Okay, that's amazing. JerryPoe.com at JerryPoe. That's very straightforward. Viewers, take advantage of this. If you know how cool, how deep, and how careful, and how thoughtful, and how supportive Jerry is, you would know that I was very fortunate that I met him when I was in the early days of starting out as a corporate trainer in America. I'd already been a corporate trainer, but in America, it's a different ballgame altogether. Now, the next one I just want to ask you very quickly here is, if someone comes to you and say, Jerry, what's your superpower? What would you say it is?
My superpower?
Yeah.
My superpower is my ability to take complex information and simplify it.
Mm. And what would you say is your claim to fame?
My claim to fame,
Yes, sir.
uh, that's a good one. I mean, the normal stuff. I've published books. I've spoken in all these different places. But there is one rare thing I did that a lot of people did. I was on an episode of Forensic Files.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, like
No
my
kidding.
back in my younger days, I did like the acting reenact. So I know about doing those takes. It was like
Wow.
it took all day of recording to get like 2 minutes on
Two
the
minutes.
show.
Tell me about that. I've done
Yeah.
a fair bit about that, a fair bit of that in Singapore, not here in US, not so much here in US. Okay, last one. You walk into a room. I know you're a man. You know these things very well. You walk into a room. It's from psychogeometrics, and there are 4 chairs around the table. The first chair is standing inside a circle. The second chair is inside a squiggly that's kind of like twisted up. Third chair is inside a triangle. The fourth chair is inside a square. So 4 chairs are available, but each one of them is inside some kind of shape. First shape is a circle. Second one is squiggly. Third is a triangle, and the fourth is a square. Which would you likely go walk to go sit on?
I was sitting in a triangle.
Triangle. Okay. The triangular people are the people who like to take charge. Do you like to take charge?
In some situations, yes.
Okay. And they say that they are the people that want to do it now, not yesterday. Do it now, not tomorrow. Let's get it done now. Is that also true?
So in terms of I'm assuming the square people are the analytical ones.
The square people are analytical. They're careful. They're
Right.
good planners. They're like CPAs. The triangle are the CEOs. They like to
Yep.
get things
So
very, very.
so when you think about the behavioral style, I
Mhm.
am half square and half triangle.
Mm. I am more circle. But anyway, I'll be coming to visit with you to take some of your assessments, and I'll bring the business team members that me and my wife are building on the site, which I've not talked to you about. I think I mentioned to you.
Yep,
We'll also
before.
take, and then we'll get to be trained by you so that we can go out there and live our purpose and do great things. Thank you so much,
Well, thank you
Jerry.
for inviting me.
Really, really, really appreciate this conversation. It was very deep. It was very thoughtful. way deeper than I was expecting, and yet you brought all the goods. Thank you so much. Another interesting episode of the Story Warrior podcast with a very insightful gentleman, Mr. Jerry Poe, person of empowerment. Go check him out at Jerry Poe at Jerry Poe on Twitter. No more Twitter. X, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn, because that's where he has a lot of good stuff. And yes, his website, jerrypoe.com. Thank you so much, Jerry. Have a
Thank
beautiful,
you.
beautiful and a blessed day out there.